Oh,
All right. This is the Domestic Draft Podcast. I'm Evan Bierman here with Dan Slowick.
bracket.
We're going to talk the NFL Draft is coming up this weekend, Dan. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk a little bit of Bulls towards the end here. But first, I want to hear what you're drinking, man. Start it up.
I am drinking a hazy IPA from the Hop Concept out of San Marcos, California. A little side fact about San Marcos, California. It was the first town that I worked in from moving out here in San Diego. I was at a place up there, about 45 minutes from downtown San Diego. A nice little area. You actually drive by a couple wineries out there as well. But the beer I'm drinking is from a brewery called Hop Concept, but it's not their own brewery. And upon some research, I was able to kind of uncover some things and was really kind of like unraveling the yarn here and trying to get down to the bottom of this. But it's the third brewery of this branch that also has Port Brewing and the Lost Abbey. So those are three breweries under one umbrella, which are also like cousins to Pizza Port, which is one of the most popular, famous like brew pubs here in Southern California. So Pizza Port was the original, and then they had their first kind of side project, which was Pizza Port Brewing, and then from there they had the Lost Abbey and now the Hop Concept, but they are completely separate brands, right? So they used to be under the same umbrella. They were related, but now they're kind of all their own, which is the Port Brewing, Lost Abbey, and Hop Concept. Those were founded in 2006, Port Brewing and Lost Abbey. Hop Concept came along in 2014. And it's really, I mean, there's also history with Stone Brewing as well, because their brewery that they opened up was the former Stone Brewing before they moved into their like massive state-of-the-art brew pub that they have now in Escondido. So there's a lot of big hitters here. Three different concepts from Pizza Port. In 2007, they won the Great American Beer Festival Small Brewery of the Year. In 2008, nice. Again, this is Port and the Lost Abbey. In 2008, they won the World Beer Cup Championship for Small Brewery. And in 2013, they were champions for brewery at the San Diego International Beer Festival. So a lot of awards, a cool little history there. And this is their third kind of like concept brand with the Port Brewing, the Lost Abbey, and also kind of with Pizza Port. So the beer that I'm drinking is Haze Pipe. It's a hazy IPA. It's 6.5%. It's got a 3.9 on Untappd, and they describe it as unfiltered and unashamed. It's the Haze Pipe IPA, beginning with huge notes of grapefruit, tangerine. Haze Pipe finishes just as juicy with the faintest hits of bitterness hops. The hops that they use are Simcoe, Mosaic, Citra, Amarillo, and Strata. What say you, Evan? What beer you got?
All right. 3.9 is pretty good too. And I feel like you've talked about Pizza Port on this show before. So that's really cool.
It's super popular down here. I mean, they make real quick hit pizzas. They kind of throw it through a conveyor belt type style, and they brew on site. So it's a cool place, good environment. Pizza so-so, but the beer is good.
Gotcha. So the brewery I have here today is Buckle Down Brewing. It's out of Lyons, Illinois. Show you the can here, which is about 30 minutes outside of the city. Buckle Down Brewing was originally conceived in the summer of 2012. Ike, a longtime home brewer, was ready to take the plunge into brewing professionally. So he took a crash course in production brewing, courtesy of Haymarket's Pete Crowley. And then in December of 2013, the Buckle Down Dream came to life. They have an outdoor beer garden, host private events, taproom trivia every Tuesday. They also do a beer belly yoga once a month, which is just like a beginner yoga class with the beer at the end. The next one, it looks like, is May 22nd, if you're interested. Again, this is out in Lyons, Illinois. But, the name Buckle Down, it's after, them just buckling down and building this brewery from the ground up. They did a lot of the renovation work themselves. It's in an old warehouse. And, they got the nice beer garden. So check them out. The beer I have here is called Belt and Suspenders. It's an IPA, 7%, gets a 3.78 on Untappd. It's got Nugget, Crystal, and Sterling hops. And it's actually one of the first beers they created for distribution back in 2013. So they're still brewing it. It is delicious. It's not as hoppy IPA. It's pretty smooth. So definitely pick one of these up if you see it. I picked it up at Mariano's, so they're distributing out there. So scoop some of that up.
Nice. I think Haymarket, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's like near Fulton Market area.
Yeah,
Been there a couple times. Yeah. And they got like the little brewery there as well.
yeah, that area is booming. And speaking of booming, is hopefully our Bears
Hopefully.
this
Yeah. Come on
weekend.
now.
Yeah, it's going to be a big weekend for the Bears and Ryan Poles. It's his first time in the draft, kind of on his own here.
Nervous.
He previously worked for the Chiefs, if you're not familiar, and he's got 6 picks to work with. None in the first round, though, so it is going to be tough. The biggest picks, I think, are going to be those first 3. He's got 2 picks in the second round, courtesy of the Chargers. That second pick, which is pick 48. So we've got pick 39, pick 48, which was the Chargers pick that we got for Khalil Mack. And then we also have the 71st overall pick, which is in the 3rd round. So I think those big 3 are going to be the ones that I'm definitely going to be watching. And that's going to be Friday, because the first round is Thursday.
Right.
And Poles had a pre-draft press conference today. I don't know if you were able to take a look at any of that, Dan.
Yeah, saw some of the quotes.
Yeah,
the highlights.
There was a lot said, and I feel like it's hard to pick through that stuff. Is it really general manager speak, or is it what he's really thinking? So I'm going to hit you with 5 of the main takeaways that I had from it, and see if you're buying or selling what he's saying here. Is it just GM speak, or does he, do you believe that he's actually thinking this? So the first one, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
The first one is he doesn't want to call this a rebuild. He kind of got upset when somebody brought up the term rebuild. He likes the term remodel.
Yeah, he was referencing HGTV, which is a red flag for my NFL football GM. If he's referencing an HGTV as not all the rooms are bad after it, but this is a rebuild. It is. It's not a remodel. He's like, some of the rooms are great. Which room is that you're talking about? The roster is pretty depleted. I think looking at trading off your highest assets that you have is direct correlation to a rebuild. But obviously, coach speak, GM speak, you don't want to say that. You don't want to tell the players that you're rebuilding. And it's not a bad term either. I don't think it's a bad term that you're rebuilding. I think it's just fair that you're starting over, and Ryan Poles wants to put his fingerprints on this team. So why not start from the foundation and build a better house that you moved into? I mean, if you have the opportunity to do it, go ahead and do it. Yeah.
Like you said, I don't know what rooms he's referring to not being torn down, but I think pretty much everything has been, other than, Justin Fields and David Montgomery. And I think like Darnell Mooney on the offensive side. I mean, you got Cody Whitehair and a couple other rookies on the offensive line.
And you know me on Mooney, you're high on Mooney. I'm not. You're bringing him up that room solidified. I'm like, if he's my 3, cool.
Yeah.
Not
solidified
best,
at all.
Top receiver. Yeah.
Yeah. That wide receiver room is it's in shambles, honestly,
and it's okay
outside of Darnell Mooney. Yeah. And it's fine.
It's okay to rebuild.
He needs to embrace the fact that we are and stop trying to call it something else.
Well, yeah, it's strategic by him. Players want to buy into what this new vision. You don't want to tell the team that you're rebuilding, because you don't want to lose the locker room, the vision of the coach. You don't want to undermine him as well. And you never know. NFL, there's so much talent on every single roster. You just never know who's going to step up, how the team is going to go ahead and melt together and have that chemistry. But it's a hard sport, but we've seen it year in and year out. These turnarounds that teams have, they go from an under 500 team to into the playoffs in a year. So you never know.
Yeah. And obviously, the Bengals being in the Super Bowl, I think everybody's going to want to model it after that, especially with the young quarterback. So
right.
It's tough to not compare it to that. And hopefully, within a couple of years, I mean, Joe Burrow is pretty electric, but Justin Fields, I think, is shown some promise, and it'd be nice to see him build around him. And I think it starts this weekend. So. Yeah. All right. So number 2, Poles says they will be in the business of trading back to acquire more draft capital.
Yeah.
Are you buying or selling that?
I'm buying that. Open for business all day. Ears to the floor, anything that you can do to have draft capital, anything that you could do to maybe sell some of the players that are currently on this roster that you don't see a future on this team for. I saw Robert Quinn's name out there a lot today, that although he was at Hallis Hall talking to the new coaching staff, seeing what's up to Ryan Poles, that there are a ton of teams, playoff contending teams, that would love to have them on the roster. And by all means, if a bunch of teams are asking for him, that is a bidding war, and may the best one win, because we need draft capital. So hopefully we can get a lot there for Robert Quinn. I am more than okay with letting him go, and I'm way more than okay with drafting back and getting as much draft capital as you can, because we've seen over and over that roster turnover is obvious in this league. Every team goes through it. It's a business, right? That's what every player says when they get traded. I realize it's a business. Players are coming and going, and it's only the few superstars that really stick along for the long ride. So yeah, all day buy this, trade back, get as many players as you can.
Yeah, definitely. And he's been known to be a guy that likes to build through the draft. And one of the other things that he said today that was interesting was that they've been having some of the staff in these, pre-draft meetings that they're in, call in fake trades just to test their communication and test their trade charts and test all that stuff just to make sure everything's smooth for that first day. He said they're still going to be watching day one, Thursday, even if they don't have that first round pick, just to see if somebody's interested or if somebody's falling they're interested in. So
quick sidebar.
I'm buying it as well.
Have you seen the movie Draft Day?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. This is now's the time to watch it.
I haven't. Right. So sell me on that. We're doing buy or sell. You had a smile on your face saying absolutely you've seen it.
Yeah, Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner's great. America loves Kevin Costner. Why should I watch it?
Because it's Kevin Costner, dude. It's Field of Dreams, but it's for the NFL. I feel like
he's
at his best.
Is it accurate?
I'm not a GM. I don't know, but it seems pretty accurate. There's a lot of he wakes up the day of and makes a different decision than he was thinking, you were thinking he was going to make, but it's all it seems accurate to me. It seems very difficult, and it shows you the stress. Yeah.
That went into it, and people that talked about that have been in that position to try to write the script and get some takeaways. I guarantee you that happens, where you wake up thinking you're going to draft a player, and then 5 hours later, your mind is shifted and you go against it, and either it's a make or break. It's going to be a crazy draft. I think there's going to be a lot of movement.
Yeah, definitely. And so that brings me to the next question. The Bears will have a best player available mindset when it's their turn to pick. Are you buying or selling that?
Selling it. I'm selling that because I think Ryan Poles is going to draft a lineman no matter what. So that best player available may be a cornerback, it may be a linebacker, and he's going to go and look for the interior. This guy is going to focus really, really hard on the interior offensive and defensive line, specifically with the offensive line. I think this guy really wants to get that right. I think he sees a football team that is built from the inside out. So I sell on that. Best player available. I don't think they're going to be looking at that. Best lineman available with those 3 picks in the top 75.
Yeah, I think this, as a general manager, you have to say this, because the person that you ultimately end up taking, you have to say this was the top person on our board.
Didn't think he was going to be there. Yeah. So surprised to see him there. So happy that he fell to us.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm buying it as GM speak. And now Poles did also mention later in the press conference that he believes the depth at offensive line, defensive back, defensive line, and running back is really solid. So he's going to be looking at those every single time. And to your point, offensive line and defensive line is 2 of the first 3 positions that he named there. So obviously that doesn't help us much in the wide receiver department, where I think most people want him to look right away. Which brings me to the next point, which will be the Bears won't be involved in trading for a wide receiver a la Deebo Samuel or Darius Slayton from the Giants, or Kadarius Toney, somebody like that, because Poles believes in homegrown talent. Are you buying or selling that?
I'm selling that as well. Yeah, I'm selling that. I don't think, he's not going to do that just because those players are a little too pricey for him at this stage. And he doesn't want to hitch his wagon first couple months into the job to, a big money wide receiver that's going to cost him a lot of possible draft capital, like a Deebo Samuel. But with the homegrown talent, we've seen that this organization really can't have a receiver grown. I don't know what's going on at Hallis Hall. I don't know what's going on at the practice facility. But I believe like the last receiver we had that was any sort of a threat that we drafted was Alshon Jeffries. And that was years ago, man, out of South Carolina. I remember, go up and get it kind of ball talent. Had him alongside Brandon Marshall. Those were some of the most like prolific offenses we had in our lifetime watching the Chicago Bears. So it's hard for me to think that, but it is a new GM. So maybe give him some faith there, but I gotta sell that. What about you?
Yeah, I just, with him also mentioning that he's looking to potentially trade back and acquire more picks, I just can't see him giving up that draft capital for one of those guys. And especially somebody like Kadarius Toney, who's kind of made a lot of noise and not really done anything in his first year. And
Right.
their Giants are already looking to get rid of him. Like, I'm just not interested in that at
That's
all.
got to be a lot of red flags there if that's happening.
Yeah, Darius Slayton's a fine player. I think they'd probably want too much for him, though. He's, worse than Mooney. So Deebo Samuel, obviously great player. He had a hell of a year last year, finally stayed healthy, and you could see what he did. But
yeah,
I think I believe Josh Larkey, who came on this show, said that he tweeted that Deebo had more rushing attempts than he did pass catches over the second half of the season, which I thought was insane. But that makes sense, the way they were using him. So
like a Cordell Patterson, he's very much in the same. I mean, Cordell went straight like running back this year, but he has the pass catching ability. But I see them very much one and the same there with Cordell Patterson.
Yeah, he's like the prime version of Patterson. But I think they need like a prototypical number one that they were hoping Allen Robinson was going to be, but obviously that didn't work out. And so hopefully they can find somebody like that. And I think there's a couple guys in this draft, and we'll, talk about them in a little bit. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm definitely buying that we're not going to be looking to trade for someone though, because I think he does want to draft somebody.
And I think, there are the number one receivers that come from the blue blood, they're 5-star recruits. There are a couple of those in the league, but majority of the rosters, their 2s and 3s and the possession receivers are players that were later on drafted or, made the team in the off season. There's, there are the exceptions of like the Jamar Chase, right? First round pick, first round talent, goes out and becomes the number one receiver. But, you look at some of these other people like a Hunter Renfrow and some of these people that have just like, sprung an offense up and like controlled the possession time in and time again. That's what the Bears need, right? Somebody that can just be trusted to catch the ball. You can get those later on. I want to see them kind of take those shots later on.
Okay. It's seemingly a deep wide receiver class too. So, all right. So last one, buy or sell. Evaluation will be based mainly on game tape, not hype and measurables. Poles said, quote, I think my foundation is that at the end of the day, I want to take away a good football player because I've watched the tape and there's proof on film.
Yeah, I buy that. I actually, that's my favorite quote he said with that press conference. And it's completely like the opposite of the old Al Davis kind of mindset to where like a guy runs like a 4.3 and Al Davis is like, let's draft that guy right away. He's going to be the next, Darius Hayward Bay, put him out there. So I really enjoy that. Taking the not sexy picks, it's almost like a Patriot approach to where they draft players and you're like, who is that? What's going on? What are they doing over there in New England? And then boom, they lose Tom Brady and they're back in the playoffs like a year later, right? Like those are the kind of players I want. Look at the tape, look at the gamers, the people that are nasty. Again, he's going to want these kids that are, fast, they're strong, and they're able to play the full entire season. So I'm 100% buying that. And I think that's the best quote of the day.
Yeah, totally agree. Because look at Mitch Trubisky, Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes. If you go back and you take this quote and you take this person drafting at that time, they're not taking Mitch Trubisky. There wasn't any tape that was saying that he was better than Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes. There wasn't. So I love this too, and I'm buying this. I think this is the type of guy that we've got here, and I'm hoping that translates, to this draft. I'm anxious to see what he ends up with. And some of the other interesting things that I guess the last interesting thing that I had from this press conference, and one that I thought was really cool, was that Poles shed some light on their pre-draft process. A look inside to their draft room with his scouts. He explained that his scouts tried something new when they were evaluating prospects. They watched the tape on players and then used their phone to take part in polls to evaluate them. So they stacked up each position, watched the players, polled everybody on their phone. Information gets sent to a database, and then it's displayed on the screen so you could see how everyone was ranked. I think that's kind of a fun way to do that, and also, anonymous, and you're not getting influenced by everyone else's opinion in the room, and then you can really see what everyone thinks. And I think that's awesome. I think that was a good first step for him. What do you think about that?
I'm seeing a lot of parallels to, like, being in the classroom there. Typical website, like a poll everywhere. You put a question on the board and kids can, go ahead and submit their answer via cell phone. It shows like a bar graph or whatever where you rank that person or what you think about that answer. It means nothing to me. This
Do you
means
use
nothing.
that? Do you
I use it.
that
Yeah. I
Okay.
use it. But that really means nothing to me. I mean, it's something to write about. It's I guess a story, and you're looking for anything in this time of year. But I'd rather be more confrontational. I'd rather have players or my coaches in the room that are fighting for players and really truly believe that this is the person you should draft, instead of taking an anonymous test and being like, all right, let's see what the hive mind thinks and the consensus, because that's a safe thing to do, right? In this position of GM of drafting, if you get a majority and everyone kind of thinks that this player was great here, and then you draft and be like, well, they didn't work out, but majority of us thought, you don't find any diamonds in the rough that way, right? You don't find anyone who just like will put it all on the line for that player and believes that player will be the next, Julian Edelman or something like that, when I'm thinking about a wide receiver room. So I don't know. I don't care for that. That means nothing to me.
I come back to the Moneyball table where all the scouts are sitting around Billy Bean, and there's a couple guys that are chiming in with somebody that they really liked, and they're probably the more senior scouts, so that they think they have that next prospect, and you have to trust them because they found this guy 6 years ago, and I'm just worried that, if that's the way that other teams are doing it, and Jerry Jones loves somebody in Dallas, nobody's going to say, Jerry, this guy sucks. They're going to all be like, yeah, dude, that's your player, because he's the one making the pick. And I feel like they'd want to people please him. And just from watching Hard Knocks, that's the vibe I got from that. So that gives me Jerry Jones vibes. I like this new way of looking at it as like, let's see what everyone thinks outside of this anonymously. And if somebody's really good and they're a runaway, which he said some of the players were, now he said there was some that were closer, but I feel like some of those runaways, it's like, okay, everyone loves this guy. This is our top guy at this position. So I thought it was cool. So it is two different ways to look at it for sure.
I mean, why not?
Obviously not a big deal. It's
We'll
just
see,
ranking players. Yeah. And you'll see, how this works out, obviously, this weekend, see what we end up with and throughout the year. But
so go for it.
Yeah. I was going to say the few positions that I'm curious for them to, look for with their first three picks are wide receiver, cornerback, and offensive line. Yeah. And, I wrote a little article about this, a little draft preview about each of these positions. Our wide receiver position, we have 7 guys right now: Darnell Mooney, Equinemius St. Brown, Byron Pringle, Daz Newsome, David Moore, and Simba Webster, Isaiah Coulter. The last 4 guys there are probably going to be special teamers. I don't think they're going to, Daz was, I think, drafted as a return guy, and Poles didn't draft him. So who knows, how long he sticks. Byron Pringle just got arrested in Florida for reckless driving with a suspended
doing donuts
license.
with this kid in the car.
Yeah, on a suspended license. So you got Darnell Mooney and you got Equinemius St. Brown. We've seen him on the other side of the ball with the Packers. 37 catches, 543 total yards over the last 4 years. He had that high ankle sprain for 1 year, so he's out. So really 3 years worth of work, 37 catches total for 543 yards, and we're going to hitch our wagon to him as our 2. I don't see that happening. So I think you're probably going to have Mooney as a 2-3, hopefully, and eventually you can get this prototypical number 1 wide receiver out there. So you got Mooney on one side and, whoever this other person is going to be on the other.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to look to draft somebody, and I'm hoping that it's one of George Pickens.
The first pick we have, you think they're going to go receiver first?
That's what I'm hoping for, and I think that's what a lot of Bears fans are hoping for. So it's probably not
I think
happen.
That completely goes against his best player available logic.
100%.
That's why I think offensive line. Okay, go. Who do you like then?
So I like, at our pick, guys that I think will be available.
Okay.
Treylon Burks, if we're lucky, might fall. He's a huge guy. I think there's some people saying that he could be like AJ Brown. I don't know that I see him falling that far, but who knows? I mean, DK Metcalf fell to the end of the second round. You know, AJ Brown fell himself pretty far. So you got him potentially. George Pickens, Christian Watson, both big guys. Jahan Dotson, Sky Moore, and then Jalen Tolbert. I think he'll for sure be there. I don't like him as much as the others. You know, I like Pickens a lot. He's a top 25 overall national recruit, strong hands, enormous catch radius, Watson's workout metrics. He's 6'4". He's got these massive hands, 10 and an eighth inch, which are huge for a wide receiver. I think those are even bigger than Michael Thomas hands. And he ran a 4.36 40-yard dash. Now he played for North Dakota State. So his competition.
What's his game film in competition? I mean, the last time we did something like that, drafting like a D1 AA was Shea McClellan, right? Or no, it was not him. Excuse me. He was out of Boise State. It was the tight end. What the D3 tight end? What was his name? He's on a Miami now. I can't.
Baby
think of his
Gronk.
Name. Yes. And he just like ate a bunch of Chipotle.
Adam Shaheen
to put on weight. Adam Shaheen, right? Last time we tried to do something like that, right? Thinking this guy dominated the comp down there. He's got the mindset. He's going to keep dominating and completely like shell shock, culture shock when he got to the NFL. I don't know about that. But also, North Dakota State is a powerhouse too. You know, Carson Wentz came out of there. I don't like drafting receiver out of there.
Yeah. So that's kind of the knock on him for sure. Like I said, Treylon Burks may fall. I think Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, Drake London will all be gone in the first round. And Garrett Wilson, I think, is going to be a top 10 pick. So he's going to be gone. Unfortunately, Olave and Garrett Wilson were the Ohio State receivers that have played with Fields. Yeah. Both those guys will probably be gone in the top 20. So I don't see us trading up for a wide receiver because they're hit or miss. They've always been. And I think, you know,
I could see a potential
draft capital.
Yeah, I could see a potential trading Quinn for more capital, and then, you know, thinking up of a scenario of maybe like 2 picks and some other player to then take one of those top 75 and move it into a first day pick. I could see that happening. I could totally see that. That would be
awesome. Yeah, that would be awesome. So the next, you know, obviously wide receiver, huge need. Like I said, offensive line, I think, is the next big thing. You know, you got potential starting lineup of Tevin Jenkins, Cody Whitehair, Lucas Patrick, Dakota Dozier, and Larry Borum.
Ooh, tough.
Yeah,
some unproven talent there
for sure. Dakota Dozier, it's only started in 27 career games of a total of 76. Lucas Patrick, 34 of a total of 73. So both those guys are like backups. They're coming on to the roster new to the offensive line, and starting with Larry Borum and Tevin Jenkins, who are going to be second-year players who showed some promise that first season, but, you know, had their fair share of struggles.
And health.
I felt like every game I watched I felt like Jenkins was hurt for most of the year, and I felt like when he was back in there, he was making, you know, kind of dumb mistakes and doing some committing some penalties that he shouldn't have made. But you got Cody Whitehair, who's been there for a while, been there since 2016. So I think Poles is definitely going to bring in new faces, like you said. There's been a lot of people talking about Tyler Linderbaum. He's the center from Iowa, and he's widely considered.
Give me that all day. Give me a lineman from like Wisconsin or Iowa. I mean, I know we drafted Gabe Creamy way back when, and he was a Wisconsin lineman, but I feel like every time you watch like a primetime game, they go over like I'm this guy from this school. You know, they do like the starting lineup and it's just a little talking head on the graphic. Every offensive line just has like from Iowa. And it's like this big, you know, hay bale and SOB who just pushes people around.
Yeah, it'd be awesome to get him. He's only 6'2" though, which is pretty small. But he's, you know, like I said, he's easily the best center in this draft.
They're not looking at a lot of talent. Read the quotes. They don't care about the measurables and the height, man. They're looking at the film. Doesn't matter if he's got small hands, short arms. He's only 6'2". Can he play? God damn it. Put him out there.
So I don't think he's going to make it. I think he's that good that, other teams are they're going to overlook all that other stuff anyways. They don't care about his height and his weight and his, you know, everything else. So I think he's going to be gone. He looks like Todd McShay's 29th ranked prospect. And, you know, our first pick's 39. So I don't think he's going to be there, but if he is, I think that's a no brainer pick for sure. Trevor Penning, Tyler Smith out of Tulsa, and then Bernard Raymond are some other names that I would look for that are, in mock drafts falling around where the Bears are picking. Tyler Smith's one I've seen a lot from analysts. He's got a pretty high ceiling, but very raw prospect. And they're saying that he was playing tackle, but he would probably move to right guard, which would be great for the Bears. I think, you put him in that spot that Dakota Dozier, who's been a career backup.
Right.
I'd rather put the rookie out there and then have Dozier as a backup if this guy's horrendous. But he's going to be a project. So it's tough to take a project with your first pick. But if any team can do it, it's the Bears because we have the time, right? I mean, next year we're not planning to win anything. So he might be somebody that you look for there.
No,
with one of those first 2 picks.
If you're Poles, you're not taking a project. You're not doing that. You got to take some talent that you're going to be confident can start playing day one. You got to do it. I don't think you have the time, like you said, and specifically with how harsh the fan base is and the media around, just the thirst for success we have for the Bears. If we take a bunch of projects and be like, hey, don't worry, like 3 years, this team's going to be built up and we're going to be, solid. Football is such a quick game and instant satisfaction for the fan base. I mean, you only have 16 games now or 15 games that you play?
17. You think he cares about that? You think he cares about the Chicago fan base opinion? I mean, it's his first year. He's pretty young guy.
I'm sure he doesn't care, but that's what drives coaches and GMs out of this city. I mean, we're critical. We want to be good. We're a historic franchise. We get in these primetime games and we suck. And then it's, your head's on the chopping block. We just fired a coach who was coach of the year, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have time, man. You don't have time here.
I would love for him to take an impact player, especially 2 of them with those first 2 picks. And I hope that he does, but I don't think there's another shoe in, unless Linderbaum or somebody like that falls. We'll see.
Come draft night, I kind of want to be surprised. I want to hear names and be like, what? Like who's that? Because that, again, we'll go into that quote that they weren't buying the hype and they're going for players. And maybe we won't have, these report cards of like the draft grades, because I'm pretty sure our draft grades last year were great. Everyone loved our draft last year. Thought we got steals on the offensive line, thought we got steals later picks, and the team was trash and those players were hurt and they were flagged. So give me a D- and don't know who these players are. And then come training camp and, preseason, they start solidifying a starting role and they're contributing and they're healthy all year long and they're players that you can plug and play. Give me that.
I love it. Yeah, I'll take that as well. But so the last position here is going to be cornerback. I think out of these 3 positions, we're probably in the best shape here. But a few names to watch out for here. Daxton Hill, somebody that's profiling as probably the most talented corner that might be available when we're up. He's looking more like a safety or nickel, though, a lot of analysts are saying. So, but he's shooting up draft boards. Analysts like him a lot. Roger McCreary is someone that we've talked about in the past as well. He's a physical, aggressive guy. But he's got kind of shorter arms and he's a shorter guy. And so he's going to have some work cut out for him against bigger receivers. He's got those physical limitations, but, I mean, those are the guys you want, I think, in the second round, because those are the people that fall, right? I mean, those top 20 picks, those are guys that are shoo-ins. They got everything. They were studs in college and they got those measurables. Those guys are going first. And it's the gamers that I think fall to that second round, like, DK Metcalf or an AJ Brown. And you want to scoop those guys up. Darius Leonard, I think, was a second round pick too. That guy's one of the best linebackers, if not the best linebacker in the league. So there's a lot of great players to be had in the second round. And so if I look at McShay's big board, number 39 is Christian Watson. So that could be a name. He's a wide receiver out of North Dakota State, out of the small school. Yeah. He's number 39. And it says he's not a crisp route runner, but he's great hands catcher, good body control, wide catching radius, which I think would be great for Justin Fields. So if we do get the 39th ranked prospect on McShay's board, I'm on board with him.
Boy, that sounds a lot like Kevin White. Doesn't know how to run all the routes in the route tree, but he is a stud athlete and go up and get it.
Oh, yeah. I hate comparing wide receivers to Kevin White because he sucks. He sucks. And speaking of sucks,
Oh, brother. Yeah, let's talk about it, man. Let's go right into it.
Let's get into the Bulls, and we could talk about Game 4. The last time we talked here, there was a promise the Bulls were going to potentially win a game, and they did.
Yep.
And then we're like, okay, it's 1-1. The Bulls could win this series, right? And then the last 2 games, man,
Just absolutely got owned.
Yeah, what happened there?
I mean, we had Will Gottlieb on last week, talking about the series, giving his insight there, and things were looking good after 2. I mean, we played pretty poorly in the game 1, but we only lost by a few points. Game 2, we came out and won. Middleton went out. Bobby Portis was out that game. And then we're like, all right, back in Chicago. Haven't had the playoffs here in a while. United Center's going to be rocking. Everyone's seeing red. And we get the doors blown off, absolutely destroyed. Game 3. All right, just get one split. Let's go back to Milwaukee 2-2. That's fine. We'll take it. And then just got absolutely annihilated again. And we're just not playing well. Things that I'm just seeing like visually without looking at statistics is I can't remember the last time Zach LaVine has gone up and just dunked it in traffic or finished above the rim in traffic. He's getting a shot blocked. He's really looking to initiate contact. Like if you see him driving in, he lowers his shoulder to initiate because he can't get up and finish. So he's initiating so he could fade away from the contact and shoot over the reach of the defender. Like that is his drive now. And it's really scary to see that because he used to be, the athletic Zach LaVine going into the lane and dunking it. DeMar DeRozan's playing 40 minutes a game. It's a lot. No one on Milwaukee's playing above 36. He's averaging 23 points. He's only shooting 40% from the field goal. He is 0 for 9 in the series from 3-point shot. Not great from the player playing your most minutes in the modern day NBA that is very heavily reliant on a 3-point shot. And then let's go down the line. Zach, he's averaging under 20 a game, 19.3. 37 3-point shots percentage, and only 5.3 rebounds. You're gonna give that guy the super max at the end of the year? That's a whole discussion to have. The guy that I've been thinking has been playing his best is Vooch. I mean, he's averaging close to 20 and 11.5 in the playoffs. But the thing is, he's not like posting up. I'm not seeing that inside dominance on a team that, I think we have an advantage there. Lopez is good, but I think Vooch can go at him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Vooch is obviously better than Lopez. Eye test, though, when I'm watching the games, Vooch is doing everything, man. And I think everyone just continues to ask more of the guy. He's playing his ass off, and he's playing really well when he's in there. Like, is he your prototypical center where he's going to bang down low and get you all those boards and be the guy that can step out there and hit the 3? He's not Joel Embiid. Like, he's not going to do that, but I think for what he is, he's been doing really well. And I think a lot of people are asking more of him. We just need another big. We need another, like a Serge Ibaka in his prime kind of guy.
Yeah.
We could get out there that's playing power forward, maybe with Vooch in the lineup or playing center when Vooch is out of the lineup, and somebody that could shoot too.
Tristan Thompson has been that backup, and holy shit, him and Kobe White in the last game. I was like, why are you ever going to put them back in the game? It was turnover after turnover. Kobe White didn't look sure of himself as an NBA player with a ball in his hand. He's supposed to be our instant offense microwave scorer. He's supposed to be our best 3-point shooter. He's 3 or 14 from the arc. DeMar DeRozan is 0-9, like I said. Pat Williams is shooting 20% from the arc. This team is not shooting the ball well, and that's a recipe for disaster. Our top 5 pick, P. Well, coming into the playoffs, 35 last game of the season, thought it was going to be something, averaging 9 points a game. So, I mean, it's really rough. You're looking at offensive rebounds. Like you said, Vooch is playing his ass off. He's got 12 offensive rebounds. Our next leading offensive rebounder is Javonte Green. He's averaging 11 minutes a game. So that's going to show you he's barely playing. He's getting some offensive boards. That means the rest of the players that are playing, we're not getting second chance shots. We're not getting offensive rebounds. It's one and done and go play defense. Yeah. It's not a good recipe. We're getting destroyed out there. Looking at the Bucks, Grayson Allen shooting 61% from 3-point range.
I'm glad he brought him up because he's been absolutely killing us. And I think it's frustrating when we're playing against teams, and I think back to the Cleveland Cavaliers with Dellavedova. You just hate the other person on that other team, right? And there's that one guy, and I'm sure, teams that we're going up against. Lance Stevenson in the playoffs probably
Yeah.
hate him too. Like, you need to have that guy. We don't have that guy. The
The
Bulls
thing
don't have
is,
that guy.
the thing is
You know,
though, I
Patrick
mean,
Beverly is like a prime
this
example of that.
this guy, hard foul, flagrant foul, broke Caruso's wrist or tore a ligament in his wrist, right?
Yeah.
Threw him down, hard foul. Everyone hates him. And then they allow him to come into Chicago and just absolutely shoot lights out.
Yeah.
Like, where is the enforcer? Where is somebody that's just going to go like, fuck this kid? Like, let me get a hard foul. You think you're coming to the lane? I'm going to throw up my forearms. If I get kicked out, I get kicked out. It's the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like,
that's Tristan Thompson. Where's he at? What's
exactly. But that's
there
the
for
thing
5 minutes.
This team is a regular season team. That's what we're seeing.
Tice wouldn't have allowed that.
It's a team that's a regular season team that's looking for fouls. They're not getting it. They're like a gaff that the defense is playing this physical and like don't know how to handle it. It's a regular season roster. It's a regular season team, and they better look into the offseason because it's coming quick and turn into a team that's a team full of dogs. Because right now, like, we are ready to go home. We're ready to just be, 4-1, whatever, take it. And there's no fight right now. I'm not seeing any fight. How do you get 0-2 in Chicago for the first time? Playoffs have been there in over five years, right? You just get swept at home. It's super frustrating. All in all, great season. Sure, made the playoffs. Didn't see it coming, but I don't see him winning another game.
Yeah, can only say that so many times. I think you're finally here. It's the end of the year. I mean, for a team that shoots well from free throws, they just did not seem like they wanted to get to the line at all in the first half of that last game.
The first last two games, like, we didn't get to the free throw line until like late in the second quarter in both the games.
Yeah.
But that's the thing again. Like, there's no fight. There's no one like trying to go force things to go to the line. They're settling for jumpers because it's too physical on defense. They don't want to go in and be nasty. They don't want to go in and just try to finish and tough it out. They're looking for the regular season calls and they're not getting them.
Yeah. So frustrating. Game 5, potentially the last game of the season, is going to be tomorrow night.
That's right.
What are you expecting to see there? Are you going to see more of the same? Is Grayson Allen going to go off for 20 plus again?
I mean, they're back in Milwaukee. Zach is in COVID protocol for like the third time this season. What are you doing? And Caruso kind of looked like he got concussed, broken nose. I'm not sure. But if they play and we're in Milwaukee, what I want to see is different rotations in the lineup. I want to see players getting an opportunity. I want to see players playing different positions. I saw late in the last couple games, he had Pat Williams bringing the ball up, having his hand a little bit more. I don't want to see Kobe White out there. I want to see more minutes from Io. I want to see more minutes from Derek Jones Jr. and Javonte Green. And just, I mean, you got to put it all out there. You can't just do the same thing. Otherwise, you're going to get blown out by 20 again.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot more Io. He had some big shots, and I think it was like 3 or 4. Was it 3 threes in a row? So
yeah, two in a row.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome
there
to see him shooting well. And I think, like you said, I mean, just give him more playoff experience and just get him out there because he's going to be a big part of this team going forward. So
I hope I'm wrong, but
overall, good to see where the Bulls went. And if this is the last time we talk about them this season, then, it was a hell of a season. So good to see that happen. All right. Interesting, Dan. So you got a would you rather for us?
Something new, something to try. Yeah, I do have a would you rather. Last week we kind of were sports focused, talking about some Chicago athletes of would you rather take a 100-mile-an-hour fastball or get blindsided by Mac? This is completely different. So you ready to pivot?
Okay.
I think I know what your answer is going to be, but I'm curious to see what you say. Here is your would you rather. Would you rather be the person who discovers ancient artifacts and ruins and gets credited for unearthing never before seen to the modern eye ancient artifacts and ruins? Or would you rather just, unearth and mine and find a diamond?
A diamond or an ancient artifact?
Well, the thing is, you find the diamond and sure, and you might keep it. You might go get it appraised and see how much it's worth. Artifact is like you could credit it. Your name's on the headlines. You're that person who discovered it, right? I don't know. I
think I'd rather take that. I think I'd rather do the artifact.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, a diamond is it's interesting. I mean, it's awesome. You could sell it for money, right? It's the fortune or the fame question, typically. And I think the fame is a little more appealing. What about you?
Okay, that surprises me. I thought you were going diamond all day. I thought you were just like, yeah, whatever. Like people
Shows
discover
how well you know me.
artifacts all the time, but I'd rather go diamond and get some money. I would 1,000% be the person discovering ancient ruins. That's my jam. Those are the things I want to go and travel the world and see, and just get a feeling and just be in awe, of what has been happening on this planet for thousands and thousands and thousands and millions of years.
Yeah, 100% agree. All right, so I got a few fast facts before we close out the show, Dan. And these are going to be in relation to the Bears' 39th overall pick. So here's a few factoids about the number 39 selection. This is the fourth time in the last 8 drafts that the Bears have had the 39th choice. So that's kind of crazy. Half of the last 8 drafts we've had this pick. Tevin Jenkins actually last year was the 39th pick.
Okay.
The Bears have drafted a total of 10 players at number 39. So we've had this pick a total of 10 times, including 4 in the last 8. Only one of the last 18 players who has been selected at number 39 have been voted to the Pro Bowl, and that's cornerback Janoris Jenkins. So not a lot of big names coming out of this pick. Now,
it's not great history.
Not great history, but in 1981, a few years ago, the Bears leapfrogged the number 39 selection that was held by the Vikings with one of the best trades that they've made in franchise history. The Bears traded a 5th-round pick to San Francisco to move up from 40 to 38 to take Baylor middle linebacker Mike Singletary.
Boom. Gamer. Must have had great film.
Great film. Singletary was voted to 10 Pro Bowls in 12 seasons, most in Bears history. So those are a few fast facts about the Bears' 39th overall selection, the history that we have with it. So thanks again for joining us today. For Dan Slook, I'm Evan Bierman. You've been listening to the Domestic Draft Podcast. If you're listening on Spotify, don't forget to rate the show. You can find us on Twitter at Domestic Draft, on Instagram at Domestic Draft Podcast. Our website's domesticdraft.com, and you can watch the show on YouTube. Just search up Domestic Draft and drop us a sub. Thanks again for listening.
Cheers.